Hi, I'm Brett Johnson, former United States most wanted cybercriminal, now good guy, ha! Or as the United States Secret Service called me, the original internet godfather. Now, how do you get that title? Well, I'll tell you how you get that title. 39 felonies, a place on the United States most wanted list. I escaped from prison, and I built and ran the first organized cybercrime community. It was called Shadow Crew. It was a precursor of today's darknet and darknet markets. It laid the foundation for the way modern cybercrime channels operate today. Now, look, there's a whole story behind all that. We don't have time for that today. Why? Well, because right now it's time for the Brett Johnson Show. Today's episode, Raising Children in Today's World. When we come back. Okay, so we are back on the Brett Johnson Show. Today's episode, Raising Children. Ah! Hey, so here's the deal. No, I'm not about to tell anyone how to raise their kids. I'm not. It's not my job. Hell, I don't know how to do it. I've never had kids of my own. So how the hell can I tell you to raise yours? I can't. And when I say I've never had kids, I've never had kids. I had, those who know my history know that I was a lifetime criminal, beginning crime when I was 10 years old, because I guess 9 was too young. So I began crime when I was 10. I grew up a criminal, and certainly in my adult life, I chose to commit criminal activities, to engage in those. And I did not want to bring a child into that environment. I did not want a child growing up to be a criminal or in that type of environment, because I had grown up in that environment. And more than that, I was scared that I would be like my mom. I didn't want to. I was afraid that if I had a kid that I would abuse the child like my mom abused me and my sister. So I didn't want to do that. And I didn't have children. And of course, we know how that story ends up. I'm the lifetime criminal and I keep going. Well, you keep going long enough, Brett, you're going to end up in prison. You know what I mean? And I did. So 7.5 years in federal prison. That'll get a body right. Well, it won't. It won't. Prison doesn't rehabilitate anybody. What rehabilitates someone is that person. You know, you choose to turn your life around, but even with a choice, you have to have people help you. You know, friends, family members, associates, people that you don't even know need to be willing to help you turn your life around. And you have to be willing to let them help you and to ask for help. I was very fortunate that my sister, my wife, Michelle, and then finally the FBI gave me that opportunity. Very fortunate and very grateful today for that. You know, the funny thing is, we'll get to raising kids in a second, but the funny thing is turns out that when you stop breaking the law, that law enforcement stops being assholes. I don't know what, there's a correlation there. Yeah, you break the law, they're assholes. You stop breaking the law and lead a legitimate life, they turn out to be pretty good guys. Yeah, I was that hardhead, and I got to say, I have nothing but respect in my heart, deep in my heart, for law enforcement these days. They do an outstanding job. And, you know, now that I'm on the good guy side of things, I understand that, you know, these guys, these people who act as local, state, federal law enforcement, for anybody that doesn't know, they give up, they do the job. They don't do it for money. They don't do it for respect, because there is no respect for that office right now. I mean, they get a lot of bad press, and it's not the majority of law enforcement officers that are bad apples. It's 99+% of law enforcement, they're there because they simply want to make society safer. They want to make the world a better place. They're there because they want to do the right thing. There are a few bad apples, and they spoil the whole damn lot, it seems sometimes. But law enforcement, by and large, are outstanding. They do an outstanding job, and I've got nothing but respect. And, you know, when I turned my life around, they took me in with open arms. They did. There was no question. There was no prejudice or or, hard feelings. It was just like, we're glad you turned your life around, man. What can we do for you? How can we help you? That was a response, and just a humbling. Talk about a man getting humbled. I would expect him to say, "Oh no, hell no, that's that Brett Johnson. That's that Johnson boy. We can't trust him with shit. Don't give him nothing. Don't give him no one up. Don't do nothing. Keep him right where he's at." But I turned my life around, and they took me in, and they're outstanding people. And any law enforcement that might accidentally be watching this show, nothing but respect for you. And I appreciate the job you do, and I'm thankful that you are helping protect society from the type of person that I used to be. So thank you. So today's episode, raising kids. Like I said, I am not here to preach or lecture about how to raise your kids. I'm going to talk about my experience. That's what this show basically is the Brett Johnson bitching channel. Bitch, moan, and complain. Like I said, I didn't have kids. I was scared I was going to be my mom. I didn't want to bring them up in a criminal environment. And I think I made the right choice in that. When I got out of prison, though, my wife now, Michelle, she had 3 young men, 3 sons. And I claimed 2 of them as stepsons. I don't claim the third one, Taylor, because he was not in the house when I came into the picture. He had already joined the military. This young man, this boy, goes off and joins the United States Navy. Now, the reason he joined the Navy, he didn't like anyone in the house telling him what to do. And I heard this came out of his mouth. I heard the boy say this. I joined the Navy because I was tired of people at home telling me what to do. So the answer was to join the military, where they never tell anybody what to do. I'm like, how'd that work out for you? Well, the way it worked out for him is he recently decided he was going to stop being part of the military. So he did not like that, but he's a good kid. I mean, he's a good man. He's hard learning on some things, as we all are, but he's coming along, I believe. So I don't claim him as a stepson because I didn't help raise the young man or anything else like that. I do claim my other 2. I claim Brendan and Carson. Brendan is outstanding. He is. He's working to be a pilot. He's getting a degree in maritime studies while living in the middle of Alabama, because there's a lot of seafront in Birmingham. Yeah, so he's doing that. So I don't know what he's going to do, but whatever he's going to do, he's a pretty good guy. He's very responsible. He's paid for his own school throughout. He works hard. He's got a full-time job. I mean, he's truly an outstanding, very responsible human being. He has gotten sidetracked a couple of times, but you know what? That's okay. That's okay. He's all right. So the one that we want to talk about today is my youngest. And I do call him mine because I've been with the boy since he was 7 or 8. He's 17 right now. So he's mine. I'm his. I claim him as son. He calls me dad. That's the way that shit is. We may not be blood, but that's okay too. He's my son. That being said, there are sometimes that I would like to just put my hands around his scrawny little neck and just choke him out real bad. But then I say, not today, Satan, not today. Don't do it today. No, I wouldn't choke him hard. So there have been some issues with the young lad, and I will get into some of these stories as this episode goes on. But, talking about raising kids, it's difficult these days. It's difficult. You've got the friggin' pandemic. You've got what could amount to World War III with Vlad the Impaler Putin over there in Russia. You got that stuff going on. You got Joe Biden here in the United States with $5 a gallon gas. If you ain't got Joe Biden, you got Donald Trump. See, I'm an equal opportunity hater. I am. If I'm going to bitch about one, I'm going to bitch about the other. I don't like either one of them. As far as I've seen, there's not one politician yet that's given a damn for any United States citizen that isn't related to him or her. They only care about you if you can benefit them, people. That's it. That's my thought on that, and I don't think I'm wrong on that. So we're raising kids in this environment. We're raising kids where you can't have a difference of opinion anymore. In today's society, if you have a different political viewpoint than someone else, they want to cancel you or get you fired. You know, the opposite side does, or they disown you, or they don't want to talk to you, or you're an automatic enemy. We used to live in a society where you could argue politics, you could argue the economy, you could argue foreign policy, or whatever the hell you wanted to argue. You could have a good argument and then still be friends at the end of it. Those days is over. Those days do not exist anymore. Seems that we can't get any real news anymore either. You know, every time I turn on any news channel, whether it be Fox, whether it be CNN, or what have you, there's always some political slant, and it's not even a hidden political slant anymore. It's always overt. It's always right in your face. There's no doubt at all where they stand and what their agendas are. And it's a shame that our news sources do have agendas these days instead of just objectively reporting the news. But I have yet to see any news story that doesn't have some sort of slant on it for the past few years. So we're raising our kids in that. We're raising our kids when we're giving our kids, oh buddy, boy, there's the devil's device, the cell phone. The devil's device, the devil going to come right through it. He's going to scoop up our children. He's going to take them straight to hell, and they're going to burn in the fiery pits of hell. That's that devil's device, and that's what Carson's young problem has been most of his life. Well, not most, since he was introduced to a phone. That has been his problem. He was given a phone. So Carson got his phone, I guess, when he was 10 or 11. It was before he was 12, because I remember it was at the same point that Bill Gates had made the statement that, oh, I would never give my children will not get cell phones until they're at least 12 years old. That's what Bill said. That's what touchy, grabby, feely Bill said. Will not get a cell phone until they're 12 years old. And I saw that, and I'm like, hey, I like, Bill's got some problems now. His wife divorced him because of that. He got some associations with with dead Epstein. I mean, Epstein before he died, Epstein. So he got some associations with that. But back then, I didn't know that. And I'm like, hey, Bill knows what he's talking about. He runs Microsoft. He knows what he's talking about. He would know whether we should give a kid a cell phone before they turn 12 years old. So I was adamantly against it. I, however, was overruled. And young Carson got himself a cell phone, and it proceeded to go downhill from that. Turns out that when young Carson doesn't have a cell phone, that mother is on point. He's doing his work. He's doing chores. You don't ask him. You don't have to ask him to do nothing. He's just right there. Just ding, 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 ding. As soon as that kid gets a cell phone, IQ drops 60 points. Right there. Every single time he's gotten a cell phone. Now I say time because it turns out that he's had his cell phone seized more than once. First time was, we gave him a cell phone. You can tell he's starting to go off the track a little bit. And we go to Paris, and I notice he's acting funny. He's staying up all night on his cell phone. I'm like, man, who you talking to? I got a girlfriend. You got a girlfriend? Where's your girlfriend? My girlfriend's down in Florida. Dude, you're in Birmingham. How you got a girlfriend in Florida? I got a girlfriend in Florida. I was like, yeah, you do. So I didn't worry about it that much until one night I woke up in the middle of the night. It's like 4 o'clock in the morning, and he's in the bathroom with his cell phone talking to the girl. And I'm like, there's some suspicious shit going on here. So got back to the States. As soon as I got back to the States, looked at him, I said, phone now. And he gets this deer in the headlights look, like something's wrong, and I know something's wrong. So I looked at him, I said, Carson, now would be the time that if you've done anything on your phone, that if you got anything on your phone, now would be the time to tell me. Nothing bad will happen to you if you will just tell me, because if you don't, I will choke you out. Now, I didn't say that, although sometimes I feel it, but every time I feel it, I pull out the old not today Satan sign. So I told him that, and you could see it playing in his eyes. I mean, you could see it in his face because he's a horrible liar. You could see it in his face that something was a fish, something was out there that he had done that he was kind of gauging of, will Brett find it? Will Brett not find it? And I had to remind him as I saw it playing out in his face. I was like, Carson, you do know what I used to do for a living and what I do for a living today. And he was like, there's nothing on the phone. I'm like, okay, give me the phone. So I get the phone. He walks upstairs. So we've got a split level. Downstairs is a den where everyone watches television and everything. Then you walk directly upstairs into the kitchen. So he walks directly upstairs in the kitchen, and he's doing circles in the kitchen, just walking back and forth in the kitchen in a circle, keeping an eye on me as I sit on the sofa, going through his phone. His mom is on the other end of the sofa, and I'm going through it, and he's looking hard. And I'm like, oh, you got something on that phone, you mother. So going through the phone, didn't find nothing. I was like, So then I go through his WhatsApp. I find Instagram. I was like, well, you ain't allowed Instagram. I find Snapchat. I was like, I don't like Snapchat either. I have to take that stuff off. You can't be using that. So I'm like, well, maybe that's the worst he's got. And I was like, no, that's not the worst he's got, because he's circling like a shark up in the kitchen. Something is going on. So I go through the regular text messages. Nothing real bad there. I'm like, okay. So then I was like, I open up his photograph app. Bingo. As soon as I open it up, he was paying so much attention to me. He sees me open up the photo app and he freezes. I mean, it's like time stops in the kitchen for just a couple of beats, and then he just kind of stumbles in the circle. So I'm like, it's right here. Well, it was right there. The boy had a picture of a half-naked girl from the waist up. And I'm like, So I call him down. I was like, point at the phone, point at the picture. What is this? It's a picture of a girl. How old's the girl? What do you mean? What I mean is, how old is the girl? Is she over 18? He's like, no. Well, how old is she? 15. You got a picture of an underage girl on your phone? Yes, sir. Okay, and how did you get the picture? What do you mean? I mean, did you send her any pictures in return? Did you send her a picture of your tallywhacker? And he looks at me, he's like, yes, sir. Did you send her a picture of your tallywhacker before she sent you a picture? Yes, sir. Boy, don't you know this is Alabama? They will put you in jail for that. So we had a nice, long discussion, and I still did not choke him out. I got FBI contacts. So I went and told them. They're like, you know that stuff's illegal. I was like, yeah, shit, yeah, I know that stuff's illegal. Why do you think I'm telling you? So I thought we had stopped. I thought he had stopped. Took the phone away for like 4 months. The next phone he gets is a flip phone. You would think he wouldn't screw around with a flip phone. You would be wrong. That little bitty 1.5-inch screen, the boy is trying to watch porn on that. And I felt so sorry for him. I was like, son, you can't see anything. You can't hear anything over the speaker. What are you even looking at? Is it just the thought of it? He's like, I'm sorry. I was like, don't apologize. Just do better. So I took the flip phone away from him. And I told him, I was like, the next phone that you get will be the phone that you buy. And I didn't care if he waited until he was 26 when he leaves the house, because that's what age they leave the house these days. If you guys think you guys got any young ones out there and you think they're going to leave the house when they're 18 and 20 and you're going to have the house all to yourself, au contraire, mon frere. Them mothers going to stay in that house till they 26, 28, eating your food, drinking your milk. I don't even buy milk for me. I don't even drink milk. They tell me to go to the store and buy milk. I'm like, if I buy milk, they will drink the milk. And they were like, exactly. And I'm like, exactly. They will drink your milk. They will go to the refrigerator and get your snacks that you had for you. And when you go back to get your snacks will not be there. And you will wonder where they are. And then you will look at one and you will see the crumbs of your snacks in the corner of their mouth. and you will ask them, what happened to my snack? And they will say, nothing. They will shrug sometimes. And then you'll point out that crumbs are in their mouth. And then they will say, oh, was that your snack? And yes, that was my snack. And you're still in the house at 26 years old. So that's what's going to happen. Believe you me, that is what's going to happen. That's your fate, parents. That is your fate. I kid you not. You can't choke them. You can't choke them. You love them too much to choke them. Yeah, it's true. Anyway, so I told him, you're going to have to pay for your phone next time. So this boy, I'm talking about a boy that has no ambition, no drive, no motivation. Can't get him out of the house most of the time. Thought he wanted girlfriends, gets girlfriends, decides that no, he doesn't have the motivation nor the drive to date girlfriends. Just wants to sit around. That's what he does. But when I tell him that the next phone he gets will be the one he pays for, boy, that boy is driven like you would not believe. I mean, he's working, he's knocking it down. He's like, oh, and he works out $600 to buy an iPhone. Not a new one, mind you, a refurbished one, but it works. So he bought it. I'm sitting there going, I'm proud of you, boy. I'm proud of you. You're doing exactly what I thought you should do. This shows responsibility. Now you're going to have to pay part of your phone bill too. That'll show responsibility. It will make you be responsible for the stuff that you do on your device. Well, no. He gets it taken away for a couple months for something. I forgot what, for something. Tentacle porn, something like that. I don't know. Something he wasn't allowed to do. He gets it taken away for something. Christmas break comes along. His mom, because moms do this shit, his mom gives him his cell phone. I'm like, eh. So we have to go to Lowe's or Home Depot or something like that to pick up something for the house. So I'm driving out, me and Michelle driving out Home Depot, and she tells me, I really think that Carson's doing really good with his cell phone. He seems very responsible. He's checking in. He's doing everything he's supposed to. And I was like, I got this look on my face like, really? And she's like, oh, yeah. I was like, really, really? She's like, oh, yeah. It's like, I tell you what, we go to the house. I'll look through his phone. If he doesn't have anything on it, he can have his phone permanently. How's that sound? She's like, oh, that's a great idea. He's being good. I was like, all right. So get back to the house, walk in the kitchen. In the kitchen, we got this island in the middle of the kitchen. Carson's already in the kitchen. Me and Michelle come in. Brendan is upstairs in his bedroom. I look at Carson. I'm standing on one end of the island. Carson's standing on the other. I looked at Carson. I was like, hey, phone now. And he gets this look. Well, as soon as I say phone now, Brendan upstairs hears me say phone now and decides, hey, I want to come down and watch the show. So he comes down. So you got around the island, square island, you got me on one end, Carson on the other, Brendan, Michelle on the sides. So I say, Carson, give me the phone. He gives me the phone. He's got the deer in the headlights look again. And I look at him. I was like, look, I love you. You tell me if you've done anything with the phone, if you got anything on the phone, all you got to do, say it now. No consequence. Promise. Hand to God, no consequence. And he looks at me, and I look at him, and I can see it playing in his eyes. And I know he's got something, and he knows he's got something, and he knows that I know that he's got something, and I know that he knows that I know that he knows that I got something, that he's got something. I can see it playing. I looked at him and said, no consequence right now. All you got to do is tell me what it is. And he looks at me, he's like, and you can tell that the wheels are turning, not very fast and not very fluid, but the wheels are somewhat turning. And he says, there's nothing on my phone. And I looked at him and I was like, really? He's like, there's nothing there. I was like, Carson, I can literally see it in your face right now that something is on the phone. And you're trying to figure out what you can say and what you can't to stay out of trouble. Yet I've told you there's not going to be any trouble. And his mom looks at him. She said, Carson, you can really see it on your face right now. And Brendan is not saying anything. Brendan's like, shit, I like this show. So Carson, once again, he doubles down. There's nothing on the phone. I was like, okay. So take the phone, start going through it. I'm about 5 minutes into it. All of us sitting there silent. Maybe not even 5 minutes, maybe 3 minutes, because time slows down when you're doing shit like that. So about 3 minutes into it, I hear Carson. He clears his throat. He's getting ready to speak. He does that swallow, that guilty swallow right before the admission of something. That, boy, I got to say something. That type of swallow. So he does that, and he goes, I hear this, and I'm like, yes. And he's like, well, there is one thing. I was like, oh, what would that be, young Carson? So that's what I do. Whenever I'm upset with him, I call him young Carson. So later I said, what would that be, young Carson? And he's like, well, there's this app on there called Calculator. I was like, calculator? He's like, yeah. I was like, is it a calculator? And he's like, no, it's not a calculator. I was like, oh, well then what is it, young Carson? And he looks at me, he's like, he gets quiet for a second, and then he says it. Well, it's an app that lets me hide stuff from you. And I look at him, and he looks at me, and we know that it ain't going to be good. So I sit there for a second, I bow my head, I take the cell phone, I lay it on the island. I step back, I pass Michelle and Carson, I say, excuse me on the way. I walk downstairs, go out into the garage, get a hammer, come back out quietly, not say anything to anybody, come back around to my edge of the island, my side of the island, start hitting the phone as hard as I can. Bam, 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 bam. About 5 or 6 times, really hard. Pick up the mangled mess of a phone, reach it over to him very calmly, very, very calmly. And I say, there's your phone. I told you I would give it back to you. And he's standing there looking at it, and tears are welling up in his eyes because it's $600 down the drain. But more than that, it's his connection to the outside world. So then I walk around. I let him sit there for a second. I walk around. I hug the lad. And I don't call him young Carson anymore. I was like, Carson, I love you, and it's going to be all right. But there are consequences to actions. And this is one of these consequences. You are not allowed. That is a line in the sand. You are not allowed to have stuff like that on your phone, to hide stuff that you know that you shouldn't have from the people who are trying to care for you and make sure that you grow up to be a good human being. I said, and I told him, I said, we're going to get through it. It's going to be all right. You'll get another phone back later. But right now, no. So there were some consequences. There were. He lost his phone. I took the door off of his bedroom for a few weeks. He was like, why is my door on my bedroom? I was like, because I can't trust you. You might hide something in there. So you should learn to respect it. So I took the door off his bedroom for a few weeks. He wasn't allowed any friends for a few weeks, and he finally got those back. So I did not know when he was going to get a phone back until the pandemic hits. Oh my God. So the pandemic hits, and I think I told everyone on the show already, you know, I'm the only fraudster that didn't go broke, didn't commit any crime. But as the pandemic was coming on, you know, I knew, most everyone knew they were going to have virtual schools, that it was going to really affect the kids. And it did. That all these bad things are going to take place. So right as the pandemic was hitting, I'd got a payment in from AARP, where I'm spokesperson for them. I got a payment in for them, and I told Sean, I was like, you know, they're going to be shutting things down. He's not going to be able to hang out with friends or anything else like that. You know, why don't we get him a phone, and you know, and maybe he'll be able to handle it. Maybe he'll be okay. You know, have a talk with him about responsibility, because by this point he's 15. By this point he's 15. Is, you know, when a kid turns 15, they're pretty much set. There ain't much you're going to be able to do at that point to change who they're going to end up being. So got him a Pixel 4 or 5, whatever that was. Got him a Pixel and sat down and, you know, told him, you know, talked to him about responsibility and how he's got to be the person responsible for his digital life and doing the responsible things, make sure he's not screwing around, anything else like that. And it was yes, sir, no, sir, yes, sir, no, sir. And he didn't know we got him a phone until we handed it to him. And happiest kid in the world, tears in his eyes, everything else. Oh, thank you so much. I'm going to make sure that you can trust me and everything else. Here's the thing. Adults have a hard time with cell phones as it is. We check these damn things 300-400 times. Some of us, like Brett Johnson, on the TikTok every single day. I'm on TikTok every day, even though I know the Chinese government getting all my information. I'm like, I don't give a damn. They can have all my information. Just show me more funny videos. I love the TikTok. It is the ideal bathroom companion. Love it. They can have all my info all day, every day. I'll even make up some more info if they want it, if they'll just show me more videos. So if we can't handle it as adults, how can we expect children to handle it? Well, yeah, I guess I hadn't understood that either. So the kid, I tell him, I'm not going to monitor you. I'm not going to do anything else. It's your responsibility to do what you need to do. If you screw that up, it will come to a head at some point, and we'll find out about it. Won't have to monitor you to find out about it. And he's like, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. Yeah, blah, 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 blah. So it starts out with his Snapchat, which I didn't like him having Snapchat, but I'm like, he's 15. He's got to learn how to deal with this kind of stuff. He has Snapchat and Instagram. His issue was the Snapchat, which I got to tell you, don't understand a damn thing about Snapchat. It's the stupidest looking thing I've ever seen in my life. See, I was locked up when the whole social media stuff hit, so I missed out on the Facebook stuff. I don't know. I don't give a damn about Facebook. My social media is LinkedIn. That's it. Sometimes I bitch on Twitter. Although I'm not really a good Twitter complainer. I've got like 2,000 followers, and they're like, hey, he talks every now and then. We don't really pay much attention to him unless he's talking about cybersecurity. I'm like, okay, do you. Wish I had me a Twitter following. Ha! So, yeah, he was supposed to take care of himself. It starts with him. His latest episode starts with a Snapchat. He's spending, this kid's spending 8, 10, 12 hours a day on Snapchat. And I was chalking it up to the pandemic. We were all on lockdown. Couldn't go anywhere, couldn't do anything. Now, with me, didn't really bother me that bad because, hey, I was locked up in federal prison for like 7 years. This is not really lockdown to me. I got a TV, I got video games, I got a house to walk in, I got a comfortable place to sleep, can walk the block if I want to. I'm okay. So it didn't really affect me, but it did affect everybody else. People who hadn't been in an environment like that, it affected them. It certainly hit the kids hard. So I'm sitting there going, well, he's on Snapchat because, he's dealing with the psychological stress and anxiety of the pandemic, which is a real thing. So I didn't really think much about it, but he's spending like 8 hours a day on friggin' Snapchat, and it bugs me. It bugs me real bad. But I don't say anything because I'm like, he's got to deal with this stuff as he can deal with it. Well, I start to notice a change in his behavior. You see, I'm very good. I am very good about reading people. I'm very good about setting someone's baseline. And when something happens that causes them to jump out of that baseline, I zero in pretty quickly that something has changed. Something is going on. So I noticed that with young Carson. He changed his behavior pattern. And I'm like, something's going on. Didn't know what it was. Didn't have a clue what it was. He's working. By this point, he's got him a job at Chick-fil-A because he likes the Chick-fil-A nuggets and the sauce. So he's got him a job at Chick-fil-A. Brendan has given him a 2012 Camry that we had given Brendan. So Carson's got a ride to drive around. It's a beater, but hey, it's a ride. So he's got that, and Carson's gone all the time, And I'm like, let him stretch his wings. Let him stretch his wings. He'll be all right. He'll be all right. Nah. So I noticed there's a change in behavior. So what happens is I tell him this. I was like, Carson, what's going on with you? Nothing. All right, something's going on with you because your baseline has changed. And I sat down and I explained it all to him. This is what you've done. Something is different. What is different? Oh, nothing's different. Everything's fine. Okay. So I didn't really know if he was doing anything wrong. I thought, well, maybe him and his boys are going out and drinking a bit, or maybe they're smoking some pot. Now, I've told the boy that I will never be violent toward him unless he comes in the house on drugs, at which point I will take it under, I may be compelled to lay hands on the lad. Not saying I would. Perhaps it might be one of those, not today, Satan. Don't get him today. I don't know. But I thought maybe that's what was going on. And I mentioned it to him. It didn't make sense. Because, boy, he's pretty clean cut. So I was like, okay. So what happens is we got us a COVID dog. We got a Chihuahua. The damn thing weighs 19 pounds, a Chihuahua mix. Damn thing weighs 19 pounds. Got the footprint of an 80-pound Chihuahua. All right, barks at everything. Best sentry on the planet. If a leaf blows past the house, I know about it. So I'm asleep one night, about 2:30 in the morning. And the dog, the 80-pound Chihuahua Rottweiler mix, gets on top of me and starts barking her head off. Just tearing it, just bark, 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 bark. Won't stop until finally I wake up. I wake up and I walk into the foyer of the house, look around, nothing. Look outside, because the dog at this point is looking outside, barking. I look outside, nothing. I turn the light on, step outside and onto the porch, because I'm one of these guys. I'm from Eastern Kentucky. If I'm going to have a home intruder, I'm going to celebrate. I'm going to, oh, happy day. Woe be unto the man that decides they're going to break into the house. So I'm like, shit, maybe my lucky day. So I walked out on the front porch, nothing. Came back in. I was like, nothing. Walked around the house a little bit. Meet Carson in the foyer. And I was like, what you doing? He's like, oh, I heard the dog barking. So I figured I'd walk outside and see if something was out there. And I was like, did you now? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, okay, well, I didn't think much of it because I was tired. Went to sleep, woke back up, realizing young Carson don't like animals. That dog could be dying. That dog could have robbers in the house or anything else, and young Carson ain't going to move to see what is motivating that animal. So I was like, something is amiss. And I told Carson, I was like, what were you doing last night? He's like, oh, I just see the dog. Really? You got up when you won't even let the dog out. You won't even feed or water the animal. You got up to see what it was barking at. He's like, oh, yeah. I was like, uh-huh. And I told him again. I was like, look, boy, you're doing something. I'm going to find out. If I were you, I would stop while I were ahead and hope that I forget this entire mess. And he was like, nothing's going on. You're insane. Well, his mom heard the conversation and she looks at me and she's like, oh, he's not doing anything at all. He's just fine. You're paranoid. Oh, I got paranoid. She's like, you're paranoid. I was like, I'm not paranoid. That little mother's doing something. About a week passes and he's still continuing that same behavior. So it's like a Wednesday. And that night, about 9 p.m., I know he's screwing around with something. And I looked at him and I was like, boy, I know you are doing something. At this point, I'm thinking, well, maybe he's sneaking out of the house of a night. I was like, boy, I know you're doing something. And I'm going to find out what it is. And when I do, that is your ass. And he looked at me all defiant. I'm not doing anything. I was like, it's your ass when I get you. I want you to know I'm going to get you. It's your ass. Tells me again, I'm not doing anything. I was like, all right, do you. So I go to sleep. 2:30 in the morning. That same night. 2:30 in the morning that same night. Right after I told him that. I told him that I go to sleep. A few hours later, little dog. That little 19-pound Chihuahua mix with an 80-pound Rottweiler footprint standing on my chest. Boy, it takes me a minute to get up. I'm actually laying there a minute, and then I hear my wife in the distance. And I hear her say, and who are you? And I was like, well, shit, she should know every motherfucker in the house. And then I hear this foreign voice, this alien voice, this female voice respond. with a name. It was like Mandy or Mindy or Mary or some shit like that. Carson brought me here. And I was like, oh, the plot unfoils. So I get up, throw my pajama pants on. She had been hiding in the bathroom, the upstairs bathroom. She'd been hiding. Michelle's standing in the door looking at her. I come around the corner. I look at her. She looks up at me, and I say in my most murderous voice, "You leave now." And it scares her to death. It scares her so bad that this poor little girl doesn't leave by the front door, where she's evidently parked down the street because she drove. She's evidently parked down the street right out front. She doesn't leave by the front door. Instead, she dives out the back door, goes downstairs down to the backyard, walks through all the dog shit out there, through all the leaves, everything else, because she's scared to death, and then she leaves like that. Meanwhile, young Carson, which I call him young Carson when he's screwing around and I'm getting angry. Young Carson, the only thing I hear him saying is, "Oh, this was a bad idea. Oh, this was a bad idea. Oh, this was a bad idea." To which I responded, "You damn right this was a bad idea, and this is your ass." Now, I still did not choke him out. I wanted to. My God, how I wanted to. I think back on it now, and I still want to. But I've got my handy sign. I got my handy, not today, Satan sign. So I did not choke him out. But he lost everything. He lost his car. I made him quit his job. He lost his phone. It's been a year. It's been over a year now. Ha! It still ain't got his phone back. We banned him. He was not allowed to leave the yard for like 2 months. Oh yeah, you're on yard confinement. You leave the yard to go anywhere, you've got to have a chaperone. So he was on yard confinement. Was not allowed to have any friends over for 90 days. I mean, it was pretty bad. It was pretty bad. So he's slated now to get his phone back on the 19th of April. The car, he lost the initial car. The car, my stepmom died, and she had a car that's basically, I mean, it's old, but it's basically a brand new one. I got 40,000 miles on it. Nice vehicle. So I'm going to give him that in August. I've ordered a new vehicle for myself. As soon as that comes in, I'm driving her car right now. Well, as soon as that comes in, I'm handing that down to Carson so he can, it's a Lincoln Continental, Lincoln Town car. He can learn how to drive a large car. That way he can drive anything he wants to after that without being afraid of a big vehicle. So, and he likes it. I've seen the car already. He likes it and everything. So I'm giving him that in August, and told him, "Hey, drive that until you learn how to drive it. Then I'll get you a better vehicle." And he's fine with that. And he gets his phone back in April. Of course, he's been able to go out and see friends. Now he's able to go around everything else. But, you know, today's show is raising kids. I just wanted to share my experience with children in today's age. Because, boy, it's an experience. I mean, what do you do, right? What do you do? The thing is, you know, we went through some counseling, and the counselor says, you know, hey, you mess up a lot of the time along the way, but at the end of the day, as long as you're doing everything out of love, you're going to be okay. And that made more sense to me than anything else the man could have said. Yeah, you're going to screw up. Make no mistake, ain't nobody perfect in raising Rugrats. Ain't nobody knows how to do it. Dr. Spock, not really. Nobody knows how to properly do it. You do the best you can. But as long as you're always acting out of love, you're going to be all right. It's going to turn out okay. And so I've been adamant about doing that. If I'm upset with a boy, I'll take a seat to the side, come back when I've calmed down, have a talk. You know, this is what, and we have a lot of talks. A lot of talks. And I'm convinced, I say all this, but I am convinced that the boy will be an outstanding human being. Convinced of it, which is odd for a lifetime criminal to say. But I have seen, you know, all the inmates, I didn't have kids of my own, but when I served time, a lot of the inmates there had children. And all of those guys, they missed their kids. They just wanted the best life they could possibly get for their kids. They didn't want their kids to grow up like them. They didn't want their kids to resort to crime. They wanted their kids to be better than them. They didn't want their kids to do what they had done. All right. And unfortunately, sometimes the kids did do that because prison doesn't rehabilitate you. You leave the prison with the same tools you go in with. So a lot of these guys go back to crime, self included. All right. So you do end up modeling that for your child, and your child does that kind of stuff. But these guys don't want that type of life for their children. No, they didn't want that. They want them to do better, but sometimes situations don't work out like that. So I saw that. And, for me to say that, Carson, I was able to turn my life around with the help of others. And I can confidently say that this boy is going to be an outstanding human being. He is. He's got some hiccups. There are some roadblocks along the way that he has had some trouble navigating. And that roadblock typically with him has been the cell phone. He's not the only one. My sister's daughter, my niece, Lauren, has had almost the exact same troubles as Carson. Carson sneaks a girl in, Lauren sneaks a boy in. With Lauren, it may have been a little worse with Lauren because Lauren she's got her bedroom on the second floor of the house. Lauren gets one of these rope ladders. No shit. Gets one of these rope ladders off eBay, lets the rope ladder down out the window so the boy can climb in. And Denise, of course, finds the boy in the bedroom. The boy is so scared that he goes right back down the ladder. So, I mean, it seems to be these devices are difficult for children to be responsible with. Because she met him on Snapchat as well. So, today's episode, raising kids. I don't have a clue how to raise kids, but I can talk about, my idea, just personal experience. I'm not saying anybody needs to do this at all, but my personal experience is, I relate it to a lot of my criminal background and some of the advice that I give people when I talk to them. That one thing of be aware of your environment. That's one of the top things you should do. You should be aware of your online environment. You should be aware of your physical world environment. Be aware of your environment. Be aware of the threats there. Design security around that. How could you potentially be attacked? Be aware of that. Be aware of what's going on in your environment at all times. If you're not, then you're what one calls prey. And a predator will come and get prey. So always be aware of your environment. For children, they lack the capacity to be aware like that. A child's brain doesn't even fully form until it's like 23 or 24. And if you ask me, it's more like 43 or 44. I'm sorry, but I give Carson a cell phone and his IQ immediately drops like 50, 60 points. Intermittent. And I'm like, what the hell's wrong with you? Then I remember that, hey, I'm addicted to TikTok. I'm an adult. I can certainly understand that a child that doesn't have the mental faculties of an adult would become addicted to these devices and applications as well, to a degree that it is extremely toxic and unhealthy for them. A child can't help that. We as adults, it's my view that we as adults have the responsibility to look after a child's environment, to ensure that their environment is safe. With me, I believe, you've got a choice. You can either monitor your kids' behavior online or on the phone, or you don't, or you take that halfway approach. You monitor some things and you don't others. I think that until, my view is until you can trust the child, that you need to know every single thing that's going on in their environment. Who they're talking to on Xbox Live or on PlayStation or over the Switch or on the phone or on the internet, everyone that they're talking to and associated with, because there are predators out there. I have served time with these predators, prison time with these predators. I will tell you, they are not remorseful. They cannot be rehabilitated. They do not think they have done anything wrong. If you think they will not victimize your child, you are sadly mistaken. They will groom your child. They will blackmail your child. They will try to lure your child out to meet and then physically victimize your child. So it's something that we as adults, I feel that we need to make sure that we know everything that's going on in our children's environments, whether it be Roblox, whether it be Facebook, whether it be Fortnite, whatever device it's on. We need to know every single thing that's going on in that environment. We need to take an active role in our children's lives. You know, my view, like Lauren, I think that you should have access to every single device a child's got, every device. Now, I don't care if you monitor it or not. Personally, I think some monitoring is good, but if you don't monitor it, you need to be able to access that device whenever you want to. Take Lauren, for example. She decided she was going to put a passcode on her phone and then not give her parent. Now, this girl is, I think she's like 15 right now. She puts a passcode on the phone, then refuses to give the passcode to her parents, my sister and her dad. And I'm like, no, that doesn't work. You see out there in the street, that's the United States of America. Once you step foot in this house, it's Cuba and I'm Castro. This is not a democracy. This is a dictatorship. You do not have an equal vote. You are not equal in today's society. You are a dependent. The United States government calls you a dependent. You would die and starve to death if you did not rely on your parents. That phone is not yours. That phone is mine. You are allowed to use it. That's my viewpoint on that. You know, God bless all parents out there. Oh, my child is an equal in the house. No, your child's not an equal in the house because your child ain't paying no bills. Your child ain't providing no food. Your child probably ain't cooking no meals. Probably everything you do to get the damn thing to clean the house sometimes. Because I know it's a chore here sometimes. And I don't think I'm alone in that. I think we need to be aware of our children's environment. Make sure it's a safe environment because children lack the capacity to think rationally. They literally don't have fully formed brains yet. They lack the capacity to have fully rational thoughts. So someone has to step in and do that for them. All right. I fully believe that. So I think it's that. I think we act out of love. I think as long as you're doing all these things out of love, not malice. Now, that being said, I have to say that when I have caught the young boy, when I have caught young Carson before doing some sort of nefarious shit, that I have been gleeful, that I have been like, I have done that, but I still make sure that I act out of love. You know, even though I want to choke him every now and then, still love the boy, even though, and I love him so damn much that I actually sit down and watch sports with him sometimes. And I hate sports. I've got PTSD with sports. See, I served prison time, and in prison, you watch sports, you see some idiot screaming at the television. Ah, go, go, go. Like the players or the coaches can hear this idiot that's sitting watching TV screaming, like they can hear him and they're going to listen to it. That's the first issue. And usually that ends with some other inmate telling that one to shut up. And then the one that's screaming saying, go F yourself. And then somebody gets beaten down. Or you hear this all the time, my team, we are going to win. And my response is, you don't own the team. You don't play on the team. There is no my, there is no we. If you think you are part of that team or they care about you, why don't you pick up the phone, call them, and get them to pay your rent 1 month? Oh, yeah, they won't do that. They don't know you. They don't care about you. You ain't no we or they or me or my. It ain't my team. It's their team. It ain't no we, it's they. That's what I thought. But I got PTSD over it. I've seen so many people beaten half to death over ball games that when I'm sitting there watching a ball game, someone's talking to the screen or screaming at the screen, I get nervous. But I still put up with it because I love the boy. and he's a sports nut. I hate sports, but he's a sports nut. So sometimes it's everything I can do to just listen to him drone on about whatever players, and he picks the worst teams. I swear to God, the boy picks the worst teams. He picks the Atlanta Falcons. He picks the Atlanta Hawks. Let's be honest, most people don't even know Atlanta's got a basketball team. He picked the Braves. Now, the Braves did win. Got to give him that. Got to give him that. But then he picks Auburn football. Sorry, Auburn fans. My wife comes from Auburn. She's an Auburn alumni, but you guys got some football problems out there. Got some football problems. I don't even know anything about football. Still know you guys got some football problems. Just saying. Don't even like football. Still know that. He picks the worst teams, and I got to listen to it all the time. And I listen to it because I love the boy. I wish instead of sports, he was interested in mathematics, but he's not. But then I console myself by saying, well, better sports than drugs. So at least he's not a drug dealer. That's what I say. Raising kids, I don't know, guys. I think we do it out of love. I think it's our responsibility to make sure we look over our child's environment. We know every single person that they're talking about, because if not, there are predators out there. But it gets worse than that. You've got this whole entryway into cybercrime, into the type of person that I used to be. It can be as easy as a child starting by downloading music illegally, getting on the torrents, or downloading a movie, or downloading a video game, or maybe that kid's playing Fortnite and the kid wants the new skin and the kid uses your credit card without your permission. It can be as easy as that kind of stuff. All right, that opens those doors. Or the kid sees something on YouTube about how to mess with one of his or her friends on Roblox or one of these other games and does that. That's one of these entryways that if you don't put a stop to that, if you don't bring that kid in under your wing and give that kid some mentorship and some direction, that they could end up like Brett Johnson. Let me tell you, you keep going, they got a place for you. It starts out real small. You want that Fortnite skin. Before it's over, you 7.5 years in federal prison. You sit there going, huh? Who would have thought? I just say we take an active role in our kids' lives. I don't know if there's much to take away from this show. I wanted to talk about that because about some of the experience that I've had. I never had kids. And I'm learning every single day how to raise a kid. Hell, the damn boy's 17 right now. Still learning every single day what it takes to raise a child in today's world. And that's not even talking about the pandemic, the anxiety, the stress, the mental anguish that kids have went through because of the pandemic. Then they get rid of the pandemic. Now we're on the cusp of what could be World War III. Do you think that messes with any kids? Yeah, you're damn right it does. So it's very difficult to raise children in today's environment, political climate, everything else. I just think that we do the best we can. So I'm not, like I said, I'm not trying to tell anybody how to raise your kids. I'm telling you how I'm raising mine. I do the best I can. From a criminal, my view is I don't have to be your friend. We are friends. I don't have to be your friend. My responsibility is not to be your friend. My responsibility is to do everything that I possibly can to make sure that you are a good human being. That's much more important than friendship could ever be. So I work hard at that. I work hard every day for that. He's a good kid. He is. He's a good kid. I think he's going to be a great man. I truly do. That being said, now what have I learned so far from raising kids? Do it out of love. Make sure you know who they're talking to, what their environment's like, everything else like that. Make sure you pay attention to who their friends are. Are they influenced by their friends? Carson is highly influenced. He's driven by peers a lot, and not anymore, but he was at one point. Whatever his friends were doing, it was what he was wanting to do too. He really gained value from the way his peers looked at him, not intrinsically, not from inside out, but from outside in is where his value came from. And he's been fighting with that for a few years. And, we talk about that a lot. And I do everything I can to help him out with his self-esteem and everything and talk to him about that. And I think he's coming out of it. But sometimes that's difficult, especially in today's world. You get on these programs and these programs are actually the algorithms work where they actually train a kid to not believe that they are good enough, that you don't look good enough, that you're not smart enough, that you don't do enough, that you're not wearing the right clothing, that you're not this other person that you should be, which is unfortunate. And then the apps also work to addict children, which if they can addict an adult, you're damn right they can addict a kid. And I think that we as adults, it's our responsibility, because a child doesn't have the capacity to set that aside. I think it's our responsibility to take that in hand and do that for them until they get the maturity to do it themselves. Just my thoughts on the matter. I'm Brett Johnson. This is the Brett Johnson Show. What we say as we close out, we say, be safe. That's you and your family. Be safe. Stay secure. Know that environment that's going around. Be vigilant. Know that environment that's going around. Know what situation you're in at all times. Be safe. Be secure. Stay vigilant. More importantly, this is the Brett Johnson Show. At the end of the day, just do the right damn thing. I'm Brett Johnson. Thank you for listening. Until next time.